Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, yesterday Bethesda released the 2021 roadmap for Fallout 76, and following that today, we have an Ask Me Anything conducted by project lead Jeff Gardiner and the design director Mark Tucker over on Reddit, covering loads of interesting information and questions related to Fallout 76. So, let's jump in and have a look at what they've got for us. Okay then, so this one ran this afternoon. They've done one about this time last year, so this is the second Ask Me Anything that Bethesda have done. As I say, it's Jeff Gardiner, the project lead, and Mark Tucker, who is the design director on 76. And they've gone through about 30-odd questions here relating to the current roadmap and some other stuff as well. And there's some really, really cool, interesting details in here. Little spoilers ahead of time. I did ask a few questions myself, which unfortunately did not get answered directly. There's only two of them after all. But most of them did get answered in some form or another by other people's questions being answered, so we should get most of the major answers I was looking for there, and loads of other interesting bits and pieces as well. So, let's get into this. So then, as you can see, we've got quite a lot of stuff going on here. We've got basically all on the one thread, so if you do want to head over and read through it yourself, very, very handily, the bot on the Fallout 76 Reddit will pull any of their comments together in a thread to one set of comments that you can find more easily. You can sort of see it here, all of these highlighted ones, which makes life a lot easier for doing things like this. But that's a very, very useful little thing. So, let's get into the first one. So, first up, we have a question on expeditions. So this is one of the big things I was wondering about, because they are conspicuous by their absence on the current roadmap. There are several other questions here, but this is the one that was answered. So, Re-expeditions, coming from Mark Tucker here, the design director. Yes, we still have big plans for expeditions, which is good to hear. I was concerned we might not be getting it at all. Looks like it will be coming eventually. We're as bummed as you are about them stepping out of this year's roadmap. That's less good news. We're still iterating on design for expeditions, so we'll share more details as we get closer to releasing them. Big takeaway here is, yes, we will take you outside of the current map. They are their own new feature, and we are committed and very excited to make them. So, that's really cool. Short version, we won't be getting them this year. It may well be at least another year before we see expeditions and get outside the currently existing map. But it is confirmed then that expeditions will be the thing that takes us outside of it, which is going to be great. We had some discussion a while back that it was going to be sort of standalone missions that you could repeat and they would occur outside of Appalachia. It looks like that is still going to be the case, but presumably due to a whole host of reasons, like what's been going on with COVID and the storms in Texas, plus everything else they're working on. It's been pushed back a little bit. I'm guessing this is taking a bit more doing as well than perhaps we might expect, but good to know that they are coming and they're still excited for it, but unfortunately we'll have to wait a while on that one. So, up next, we have, does this update to private servers in the fall mean mod support? Big question as well. So, Jeff Gardiner replied with, we will have a lot more to talk about with this update in the near future, as this will be a huge added benefit to our Fallout First members. Obviously, private worlds are just Fallout First, so yeah, that kind of makes sense. To give a hint, think server settings. Awesome. And this is just the beginning. We plan on continuing to build on this feature far into the future. There's a couple of takeaways from that. Far into the future means that they have no expectation of an end to 76 anytime soon, which is always good. Kind of knew that anyway, but having it reiterated is always good. And server settings, and that could mean a lot of things. Anything from enemy levels, enemy spawn rates, difficulties. I really, really hope it's going to include things like control over the weather and time of day, as I've said before, because that make basically making videos darn so easier, particularly build videos for me. That would massively up the value proposition of private worlds to me. So that does sound very, very promising. They haven't said anything about mod support yet. We do know they're continuing to work on it, but obviously that's still ambiguous and off in the future so far. But it's good to have a few more details on what this update might consist of, seeing as there wasn't a vast amount on the roadmap about that. But very, very cool. So, are new allies being worked on is the next question, and Jeff Gardiner replied with, we are working on new allies. No set ETA yet, but they are coming. So, again, not a lot of detail, but good to know there will be new allies on down the line. I would not be surprised if they come with subsequent updates, like, say, the stuff lined up for winter that is going to be focused around Zatans and also the Mothman cultists. So, maybe there'll be a thread in there around allies, but we'll have to see. it would explain the no ETA, because that's a fair way out in the distance, but good to know we're going to get more allies and a bit more variety in your camp. Always cool. Obviously, we've just had a few more in the last season, so there's that too. So, legendary crafting, one of the very exciting new features mentioned on the roadmap. Does legendary crafting on the roadmap mean the module system will apply to all weapons and armors now? So, Mark Tucker replied with this one, which makes sense, seeing as he's the design director. Legendary crafting will share some similarities to the current module system and will open it up to all weapons and armor, including power armor. We will be introducing new types of components that feed into the recipes. You'll be able to roll 1, 2, or 3-star items on the item type you've selected, and you can even re-roll a legendary item. Well, that's cool. So, interesting to see how this might work. Obviously, we're going to need yet more information on this, but basically the answer is yes, it's going to be similar to the current system for, say, Secret Service armor, Brotherhood, Recon armor, and the various stuff you get through the bullion system, but expanded to everything, which is cool. Getting to choose how many stars you get on an item is also cool, and likely that'll bump up to 4-star as well, because that 4-star legendaries are coming later on this year, so that will be very, very cool. It's going to include power armor, wonderful. Re-rolling a legendary item though, not quite sure what that's going to entail. Maybe that you might not have to use so many resources, but I don't know. This is a bit of an ambiguous one. I don't want to read too much into that yet. As exactly how that might work, I'm not too sure. We'll wait and see on that, but potentially that could save us the resources a little bit, which would be cool. And the introduction of new components and stuff like that. So it kind of sounds like the use of Vault Steel to make the Strangler armor and stuff like that, and the Thorn armor, that sort of thing. So I'm guessing it's going to be along those lines with that, which is cool. It looks like the crafting of legendary gear is going to be expanded on at the same time as it is going to get more focused on the particular item you want as well. So reducing RNG but giving you more options at the same time is definitely hitting both the key points that we'd want there, which is really, really cool. So, Halloween events. Suspecting right now that the ritual event that's lined up on the roadmap is going to consist of the Halloween event, but a little bit more information here on that pertaining to particularly Mischief Night as well, as that was popular 18 months ago now when we last had it. So the team is rethinking how we're approaching Halloween events, as we know how exciting they are to fans, and in service to the Fallout lore. Obviously, the game is set just after Halloween, or just before Halloween was when the bombs dropped, so it makes sense to keep that focus. Unfortunately, Mischief Night caused many server issues, and we're looking to replace it with a new event, which we're aiming to have out this Halloween. So, short version, Mischief Night is not returning. As we can probably remember from the event last time it ran, it was kind of a disaster with all the explosions and massive amounts of stuff going on in a relatively small and busy area at the White Spring. So, as discussed yesterday, looks like that's going to be a brand new event, probably this ritual one, but good to have a little bit of confirmation there. So up next, any plans for Vault 63? So you may be aware of this one. It's right down at the bottom of the ash heap, kind of hidden away inside a building. You have to go and explore to find it, but it's been there since launch, but with no actual use yet. So very, very cool to have some feedback on what's going to happen with this. This one comes from design director Mark Tucker. We're debuting Vault 96 in our Daily Ops expansion in Update 26, so that'll be the next update coming next month. In addition, we will be featuring that location as part of the Steel Rain update, the Steel Rain release in Update 28. So that's 2 more on down the line, the summer update. Okay, so that's going to be Vault 96, which we've seen with the Daily Ops on the PTS at the moment, but it looks like the reason we can't get in there at the moment on the PTS is because it's going to be opened up as part of the Steel Rain quest line, so we'll be able to explore it, but with a story focus, which is cool. While we're on the topic of Vault 63, we're also planning to add Vault 63 into Daily Ops rotation further down the road. So, okay, so this has been edited because he kind of mocked this up the first time round. He talks about Vault 93, he meant 63. So that's good to know. So the new one, 96, is going to involve the Steel Rain story, so you can already explore the vault that's in the game at the moment, and it's basically full of Mirelurks if you do that. But it looks like it's going to be explored outside of Daily Ops as part of the Steel Rain thing. And 63 at the bottom of the ash heap is going to be included into Daily Ops further down the road, and likely that will probably be in the autumn, which is when the next update to Daily Ops is scheduled for, so that's really, really cool. Looking forward to that. So, can you share any insight into how the upcoming pets are going to work? Awesome, I know there's a lot of people excited for this one. I'm looking forward to it as well. We have some fun things in the works for pets, says Mark Tucker. Over time, we want to provide a wide variety of different pets that you can customize, and both have in your camps and shelters, which is cool. Initially, we're going to offer up different dogs, then expand to cats and go from there. Suggestions for other pet types are welcome. One of the big questions is a pet liberator, which Jeff Gardiner has responded to somewhere, and he is very keen on this idea and is definitely going to get it added, he says. But yeah, very cool. So they're starting with dogs and expanding out from there, which is okay, that's fair enough. There are plenty of dogs in the Fallout world as well. Obviously, Deathclaws, stuff like that, they're going to be on down the line, but initially it's going to be bit by bit with regular pet types first, which is fine. So, Doublesided got in with a question about PvP, which is interesting and always gets me like, But let's have a look. On release, 76 had more of a PvP focus and was marketed with other players being a scary or a potential threat. Now, of course, we've seen this in the game evolve into having the kindest community in gaming. But are there any parts of the past PvP in Fallout 76 you miss at all, or even any interesting development plans around that style of game that never ended up seeing the light of day? So, Jeff Gardiner replied with, great question. I believe the upcoming update to Worlds in Quarter 3 will give players functionality you are asking for, as it will allow players to add in some PvP elements along with hardcore survival elements into their private worlds. So, that looks like the new iteration of PvP for those who are into it is going to be focused more on private worlds. So you can basically host your own PvP world, which will allow people to get involved if they want to, or avoid it completely. So I quite like that as a solution. But we'll obviously find out more towards the end of the summer. But yeah, it looks like an additional feature coming with the update to private worlds. So very, very cool. Certainly going to make private worlds more appealing to those who like the PvP side of things as well, which obviously right now they're probably not that appealing. So that's quite cool. So, are we ever going to get shared storage scrapbox between characters? Even a limited one would be fine. To which Jeff Gardiner has replied, great idea. Like many things, shared stash space is on a to-do list. It's just a matter of finding a time to get it done. Yeah, these smaller items and the less pressing concerns do tend to slide a bit down the list, which is understandable while they focus on the bigger stuff. We are a limited team size after all, but the idea of being able to move objects more easily between your different characters is one that I think has a lot of appeal to a lot of people, myself included. And it is on the to-do list and will happen eventually, but who knows when. But a good response, if perhaps not the perfect response, I think. So positive to know that that will hopefully happen eventually. So, Enough Survivalist got one of her comments answered. She had 4 questions, and the last one got answered as it relates to the update coming in the winter that's surrounded around Zetans and aliens and that sort of thing. So Mark Tucker had a response that was, we've been talking internally about doing something fun with the Zetans since before we launched the game. Very cool to know. Definitely excited for that, so we're excited to finally have the chance to do something with them. We are working on a new feature we call Public Challenges that will be similar to seasonal events, so a bit like the Fashion Act and Meat Week, things like that, in terms of how they come and go, I suppose. But will be global to the world and encourage players to work together to succeed, so it'll be everybody working towards a common goal over time, and there'll be things that come and go, which is cool. We will showcase the Zetans in our first one, and we plan to add more in future. So, confirmation there that the update in the winter will be Zetan themed, which is very, very cool. So it was a little ambiguous from the roadmap, but this is pretty much confirming it. And we know that the public challenges are going to be server-wide kind of public events that go on for a little while and have everybody working towards a common goal, which was about what we would have expected, similar to the way Fortifying Atlas worked back last year, but with a more recurring type style to give more regular content, more sort of timed things for people to do and keep them playing and more reasons to play, that sort of thing. So very, very cool. Nice little update. Good to have a little bit of clarification on that subject. So we have a short answer to the question of any plan to let us re-access seasons we have missed. So obviously there's a lot of people who have missed certain things. I know the greenhouse from the end of Season 2 was one that a lot of people missed out on and definitely want to get a crack at again. The answer here is a little on the vague side, but also kind of interesting as well. So we've got actually 2 parts. The second part here since I last read this. Some of the items from every season end up in the gold bullion shop in-game, and some of them will be for sale at a later date as well. So we can expect to see more things added in later on as purchasable with bullion, which is as we expected, but good to have that confirmed. Mark Tucker has added, starting in Update 28, which will be in the summer, we have a new gold bullion vendor from the Blue Ridge Caravan that will appear on various days at one of the faction hubs. So it looks like she'll be moving between them. It's presumably Foundation, Fort Atlas, and Crater, which is cool. That certainly works with the Caravan vibe, so that they move around from day to day. So Very, very cool. Obviously, actually finding them will be a little bit more impractical. I wonder if there'll be an icon on the map to indicate which one the vendor is actually at, but that's a cool little feature, and good to have some more use out of the Blue Ridge Caravan. That's something I've wanted to see for a while. Very good, cool. Should offer up great deals on gold bullion plans, and maybe even have some unique offerings from time to time. So possibly we'll see more things from seasons making appearance on this particular new vendor's sale list, which might be cool as well. So a couple of very interesting details there. Definitely keen to see more done with the Blue Ridge Caravan as well. So, any chance we'll be able to hide our backpacks for cosmetic purposes? The backpack is a must-have because of the bonuses, but it looks very out of place with some, and probably even most, outfits. Very good question, and as Jeff Gardiner replies, another great idea that we're already talking about internally. So, making your backpacks invisible is something that is on the cards at some point. Fairly open-ended, very vague, but good to know that that's a possibility on down the line at some point. So, yeah. Very, very cool to know about that. So we have some camp builder questions on this one, and it says, "Hi Jeff and Mark, thanks for doing this Ask Me Anything, continue to develop 76. So, a couple of questions. Can you please add a shared stash for different characters, similar to ESO banking system? We've touched on that already. Can you add ceiling wallpapers, vertical half walls, and some additional roof pieces, like pointed ones, to camps? Some like more aggressively sloped ones might be quite cool. Some of the houses have that vibe, but we don't have them ourselves. Most of the roofs are quite shallow, even when they are slanted, so that'd be cool. And some questions on other bits and pieces around hacked weapons, stuff like that we didn't get an answer to. So the answer we did get from Mark Tucker is that, yes, this is on our radar, but it's further out. It also includes more half-floor variants and half-horizontal wall variants. So we can expect the pieces we have to build with expand in the future, but further out, and chances are this probably means 2022, but expanded options for building are coming, and it's something they're continuing to work on as time goes on, so that's very, very cool to see as well, even if there isn't a vast amount of detail on there. So carrying on the camp stuff, we have a question about shelters. Can we get shelters that aren't vault themed, which is one of the questions I had. Would allow for greater mini world building opportunities, to which Mark Tucker has replied, "Yes, we are planning to add new shelter themes moving forward. Look for the next new theme in update 28, which again I believe is coming in the summer. So looks like come the summer we should be getting shelters that don't include a vault vibe, which is cool. The vault ones are fine, they're cool if you're into that, but I know for myself I would like to build outside of a vault type shelter, something a bit more open-ended and less locked in with a predefined style. So very, very happy to see that. Looking forward to seeing that in the summer. Nice. Okay, so a couple of questions about legendary crafting and mods for weapons and the like. Is there any chance to have new mods for weapons in the future? Example of salvaged assault on ahead, and many weapons that don't have any mods. So the response from Mark Tucker was, yes, as part of the legendary crafting update, we are planning to add new mods and make balancing improvements to some of the weaker, less used mods. So hopefully we'll have more viable options for what to pick in legendary type weapons, which will be cool. And also with some of the additional things you can attach that are not legendary, the different mods, like, you know, barrel attachments, barrel length, stocks, that sort of thing. Hopefully they're going to improve those and make a few more options that are viable, which is cool. Expect even more mods with the release of 4-star legendaries in update 32. So it looks like we're going to get a good few updates over the course of the summer, which is very, very cool. Looks like we've got quite a lot of them scheduled for the rest of the year, which is great. So, 3 questions here that Jeff Gardiner answered are quite interesting. Firstly, surrounding character customization. Is there any reason we've had a few character customization options released in the Atomic Shop? Like hairstyles, tattoos, beards, etc. Can we expect an expansion to social features like guilds, clans, text chat, mail system, that sort of thing? And would it be possible to have season themes that are based on broader aspects of the Fallout lore, like Raiders or Brotherhood, without the TV show in-universe fictional property filter? Okay, so the reason why there have not been any new hairstyles, tattoos, that sort of thing, is because apparently they have a largely negative effect on game performance, and they're hard to make. So time to put in there, the longer it takes to make, the less other stuff that the people working on them can make in that space of time. Makes sense. And negative impact on performance, well, none of us like that, so I can kind of understand where they're going from, but they'd like to add more if they can solve the issues in future. They're probably not a high priority, though, I think I would take from that. But interesting to know about nonetheless. So social features are critical to the future of 76. Too early to discuss details, but we're going to add new functionality in the future. So basically no kind of update on that really there. We know they've been planning to implement more social features as time goes on, but we're still waiting, and based on this, unfortunately, we're going to continue to do so. They have to prioritise things, I suppose, and it's not absolutely dire that they include these things immediately, so they're probably a little lower down the priority list, I think, is reading between the lines there. So, the last one. Seasons. We're open to all of these ideas. We've had fun with seasons so far, but more traditional themes are on the table for the future. So obviously they won't want to limit themselves just to in-universe games and things like that, because that limits what they can do, and sooner or later they're going to run through the majority of that and it'll start getting a bit repetitive. I mean, we're already on Armor Ace Season 2 for the 4th season coming up next, so you can sort of see where they're going with that, but for now it's staying as it is. Looks like on down the road we'll be opening up and getting a broader range of themes to the seasons, which is cool. So, King Fanman has asked, have you ever thought of opening up some of the boarded up buildings for future content? With people coming back to West Virginia, it seems like it would fit in well. Got to agree with that. And Mark Tucker has replied, we're always looking for opportunities to add more life into the world, and one of the best ways is to find locations in the world that don't have a whole lot going on and open them up. So short answer, yeah, they'll be doing more of that going forward. Awesome. There are a lot of boarded up buildings that you can't get into without some glitching going on. And if you do get into them, there's nothing going on inside of them. So there's certainly opportunities there to create focal points, little clusters of buildings that they can open up for mini settlements, things like that. All sorts of things they can do with those. So plenty of opportunity for that going forward, and it looks like they are going to be doing it. So no specific details, but cool to know this is going to continue. So what is the goal with Seasons Unlimited Ranks, and how's it planned to work? So it's going to be a non-randomized repeating track of things like lunchboxes, script, and gold bullion, etc. So long story short, it's going to allow those of you who've already hit rank 100 in a season to continue doing the challenges and get rewards that are worth having. No mention of atoms. Doesn't mean they won't be in there, but I would be surprised. I mean, I was optimistic they might, but it was always optimistic. But things like lunchboxes, script, gold bullion, stuff like that earned from just completing the challenges. So it's going to be non-randomized. So basically that'll mean there's a list. It might be for completing one rank's worth or whatever, one set of challenges, you get lunchboxes, the next one will be script, the next one will be bullion, and the next one will be lunchboxes, and so on, going on and on and on, so you always know what's coming next, which is cool. A lot of comments under here about atoms, stuff like that, but not surprisingly, there's no further comments on that. But good to know a little bit more about what the unlimited ranks will be, and it looks like they're going to be more or less what we both expected and have been asking for, so that's cool. So, this is an interesting question, and one that got an answer that's a little bit outside of the scope of the initial question, which is quite cool. So, the question must be, which in-game events do you like and dislike the most, and why? Personal favourite being Radiation Rumble, because of the sheer chaos and fun. So, Mark Tucker has replied here with, I like your taste, I agree, Radiation Rumble is one of my favourites as well. As for ones I dislike, I think all of our events are fun, of course he would say that, but they may not provide the right incentive for participation, which is interesting. So in Update 32, which will probably be scheduled somewhere around our autumn, I think. The exact numbers on this get a little vague. What we're looking at about 25-ish now, so coming on later this year. We are going to take up a balancing pass, mostly focused on rewards, to try and get better participation in some of the less popular events. So, yeah, they're going to have a look at those events that get engaged with the least and give them a little boost, improve the rewards, and give people more reasons to engage with them, which is very, very cool. Those events are something in particular between seasons to keep people busy, and obviously they cycle around a lot. Having cool rewards to pick up, particularly during downtime periods in the game, would definitely be very cool, give people a reason to keep playing. That sounds like a good thing. So, we have a question here about whether or not we can add allies into shelters, or we'll be able to in future, but Jeff Gardiner has a short version of the response, pointing out that display cases in shelters are coming in the next patch, which is awesome, that's due next month, along with mannequins, which will be coming in the new season. Power armor stands are still an open question at this point. Allies, however, are very tricky, so they're on the back burner for now. So short version, allies are probably not going to be going into shelters anytime soon, maybe eventually, but getting that to work is apparently something that is going to take a long time and a lot of work, so it's not a massive priority, as it's not strictly necessary, I suppose. So a bit further down the to-do list, that one, but maybe in future, but not yet, so that's cool to know. So we have a small question here about quality of life fixes, like being able to drop old quest items. And personally, my question on that would be things like reorganizing keys and passwords and stuff a bit better, because they build up into a massive list of just awkward stuff in the same tab that definitely needs some a little bit of love, I think, that miscellaneous tab. So good to have a question and an answer on this one from Mark Tucker. So I hear you. I have a long list of quality of life issues we want to address. This one's a bit trickier, so I can't promise to knock that one out anytime soon. But something we are investigating and would like to add are key rings. So tidying up that tab as requested. Awesome. Very, very cool. Would love to see that. So that's coming. Dropping quest items. Presumably they want to make sure nobody ends up accidentally breaking their own quests by doing it. So finding a way to balance that out is probably what's giving them a bit of trouble, but we'll be interested to find out how that goes in future. And like that, and there are a lot of other quality of life things lined up for the future, so we can expect more patches on down the line that are more day-to-day quality of life improvements, as well as the big content beats and the new stuff. So very, very cool to see. Those quality of life updates recently have been awesome, so very happy to see more of that coming in the future. Any possibility of increasing the capacity of private worlds to 12 or 16 players? Something they are actively investigating, but it's not currently on the roadmap. So maybe eventually on down the line, but for now, not going to happen. So, will Steel Rain or any other update on the roadmap introduce any new public events to the game, other than the seasonal ritual event announced? Of course. So the public events are the ones with the exclamation part that drop treasury notes. So more of those are always welcome. Give us an opportunity to grind out that bullion a bit more easily. To which the answer is yes. We have another public event in the works that is Brotherhood of Steel themed. Don't have a specific release time frame yet, but we aim to have it out before the end of the year. So for now, there is another one event lined up at least. It's a bit limited, that, but looks like there's at least one and possibly more coming on down the line. So good to know that those will continue to be iterated on as well. How's the development of Double-Sided Walls going? So this was a topic back in the day and something that's come up a few times. Obviously, Bethesda accidentally removed our ability to create double-sided walls at one stage and returned it to the game with the plan of actually incorporating it as a feature, as it was hugely requested and responded to at the time. Good to see that they are working on this, but unfortunately, Mark Tucker points out, exterior wall customization is still on our to-do list, but it's a way out. So again, we're probably looking at the earliest next year on that one. But good to have a response and know that these things are being considered. Are you planning on any quality of life updates around legendary enemies and making their drops easier to recover? For example, marking them on the compass like they already do with the player's drop bag, death bag, or making the corpse meat pile have a persistent legendary glow after death, i.e. making it easy to loot fallen enemies. Yes, this is the number one thing on my personal list, so that's awesome. If the design director wants to see this happen, that bodes well for the future. We don't want to think about how many corpses with legendaries I've lost in high grass. We're investigating different designs to solve this problem, so I can't give you a release time frame yet, but it can't come soon enough for me. So that's cool. There's mentions in the lower comments about Diablo and Borderlands and stuff. Their way of handling things. I think back to Red Dead Redemption, the little mini-map on that had little black crosses for corpses. That was very handy. So something in that vein is something they're working on, and they definitely want to get out soon. The when part is still open-ended though, but good to know that those lost loots will eventually be a thing of the past, which is cool. So, any indication on how many extra slots for camp slots and perk loadouts will be available at their launch? So, this is not the good news I was hoping for. This is definitely a bit of a blow, and that is that there will be one at each at launch, and we're expanding on this in future updates. So, one additional camp slot and one additional special loadout at launch. They have said in the past that you'll be able to buy additional loadout slots for special loadouts from the Atomic Shop, so we'll have to see whether or not that's going to come in as soon as it launches or later on. It's a little disappointing to hear that. I mean, it's good to know, but I was hoping for more of an expansion on that, particularly with camp slots. One more camp slot is, well, it's better than none, but at the same time, we need several of them, really, particularly those of us who are avid camp builders. One more is not going to solve the problem, really. Having 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more, that we can rotate between means getting rid of those camps that we love a lot less often, so that's a bit underwhelming, and in light of the fact that it was implied that the list of slots might be considerably longer in the dev dive, last week, I think it was. Hearing that there's only going to be one on launch is not something that is bringing me great joy, to be honest. It's bringing me a small amount of frustration. It's the sort of thing that they need to be watching out for and avoiding, things like that. I mean, I suspect it's just kind of slipped through the cracks, but good to know that there'll be more coming on in the future, but it does kind of make it dulls the excitement for the initial launch of these features a little bit because it reduces their functionality, so not the best news in the world there. So, the last point we have here is actually one wherein the original poster is being an arse. So, screw that person. But the actual comment they initially posted was a question about a 5th star on legendary weapons. So, basically, the presence of 4-star legendary weapons implies the existence of 5-star legendary weapons in the future, to which Mark Tucker replied with, "Rats, for the plan." Which is a cool response. So, basically, as predicted, eventually on down the line, they'll expand it out to 5-star legendary weapons and armor, which is cool. And the original question had nothing to do with nuclear winter. It's just somebody being a dumbass and re-editing it after the question has been answered. So, yeah, charming people on Reddit, as always. But, moving on from that. So, lots and lots of questions answered, lots and lots of details on there. Very, very cool information. So, really, really happy to have expansions on details about the upcoming roadmap and some other features that are not mentioned and we're looking forward to in the future. So, a little disappointment in the scope of some of the answers and also in some of the features that are coming. I was hoping for a bit more. It reduces the value of a couple of features, particularly with camper slots and special loadouts only being limited to one additional one launch. The more in future is good, the less right now, not so much. There's plenty of features in here, though, that I'm really pleased to hear about and bode well for the continuing future. It also gives you an indication of the size of the list of things that the team over at Bethesda Austin have to work on for the game. Their to-do list is miles long, you know, they're rolling down and out the door. So, tons and tons of updates still to come, and plus, of course, all the stuff they haven't mentioned on here. So, lots of exciting things for the future, and many, many changes and developments and progress coming to the game over the next year, and subtly hinted at here beyond. So, very, very cool. Awesome to have these events. Hopefully, there'll be more going forward. It's good to get direct interaction between the development team and the players as well, which is always very, very welcome and very, very cool. And direct answers to questions is good. Obviously, some of these questions they don't answer quite as directly as we might like. Some of that's down to not having details yet. Some of it's down to businessy type legal stuff. Timing of announcements is significant and actually affects business accounting weirdly. Not into that stuff, so I don't really understand it, but apparently it's a thing. So something sort of affects what they can say when. But nonetheless, tons and tons of cool things coming in both in the short term and in the longer term as well. So, this video has gone on for bloody ages now, so I'm going to wrap up. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you found this interesting and informative. If you did, please do consider dropping likes and subs. It's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships are available down below the video in the description if you're interested in supporting the channel in that way. It's massively appreciated, and huge thanks to everybody who's done that already. And if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, last few days have been a bit ambiguous as to what I've been able to actually get done on the live streaming front. But notification bell will let you know when I go live, and then you can come hang out and watch while we play a bit of Fallout, have a good natter, and hopefully hang out for some Remnant from the Ashes, which we're playing as well at the moment. So, I do hope you'll join us for those. But for now, massive thank you very much for watching. Huge high five to anyone who made it this far. Good work. And I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.